Hello, welcome to Two Madness Podcast, a new week, another episode, and today we're talking about the power of visualization. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a medical doctor. Yeah, at a point I wanted to be a lawyer too. Then I wanted to be a soldier. Then today I'm doing filmmaking. Yeah, so I want to talk about the power of visualization because then I was visualizing so many things I wanted to do when I grew up. But I didn't end up doing of the things I dreamt of doing. So I brought my good friend, Andrew. Andrew, what's up?
Ade.
The power of visualization.
Yeah.
So when you're growing, did you envision yourself doing what you are doing today?
Basically, all along I always wanted to be a doctor, which I'm pursuing. But with the ministry now, I've always been telling my people that I never, ever for once. Once in a while, I used to have dreams of seeing myself preaching on a platform, but that happened just, I think, about once or twice, and that was it. And I didn't also get anybody telling me that, hey, one day you're going to become a minister of God or anything like that. But, here I am today. Somebody will say life happened, or maybe say God happened. So, so far, yeah. That is how far.
So this topic was brought up by a friend who went for classes. She's writing this entrance exams to studying abroad, and she said one of the lectures, the teacher spoke to them about the power of visualization. They should visualize themselves being abroad and studying the course they are doing. And what the teacher said really got to her, that the whole mind frame of her learning changed into her putting much effort into her work. And so we should discuss this thing because she feels like when we visualize stuff, it can happen. So that's why I brought you here, that we should discuss this thing. So let's start.
Okay.
So when we say that, what is the power of visualization?
Basically, let's look at visualization. From the word visual, we're talking about something that you can see with your eye. But in this sense, we are moving a bit from the eye and the brain being organs in the body to something beyond the physical. That is looking at your imagination, your mind. Okay. Your mind is not the same as your brain. In the brain, then your mind operates. Your mind is what connects you to out of physical things, out of this world where you tap your inspiration from. So when you're talking about visualization, it's simply communicating with what you can relate with in your mind, bringing what is in your mind, be it a picture, be it an image, be it a dream, be it any model that you have in your mind, being able to communicate it to produce a particular kind of result. Then you are talking about visualization. So if you're seeing the power of visualization, then we are looking at how we can employ our mental view, our mental picture, and then what our hope, our dreams into fulfillment, into manifestation, how we can transform it from our mind into something tangible we can touch and go. So basically, that is what we mean by visualization and the power of visualization. So it's not just enough having a mental picture about something or having an inspiration about something, but also translating it into ways that would solve problems that you can handle, tangible to everybody.
Okay, so this brings, as we were talking, something came to mind. Yeah. When we create stuff in our head, things that we want them to come to reality, can't it end us in being an illusion? Like you want to do something, people don't want to face reality, so you can create this whole illusion in your mind that, oh, okay, I want to do blah 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 blah, but you know that this thing is not possible. It can't happen that way too?
Yes, we have extremities in everything. Exactly. For instance, when you look at people with schizophrenia and then people suffering from many kinds of mental problems, to them they are normal. They see you rather as awkward. I don't know if you remember one day, I think one of our classes, I don't know if it was one of our, I don't know if it's Sambat or somebody was saying that when you see a madman and then they are seeing things, it could either be that they are seeing a horse sitting on an ant, or an ant riding on it. We all burst into laughter. So these are extremities. Now, in order to control or make visualization impactful, meaningful, and not to go to the extremes where people live in their own world. It can be disastrous in the sense that somebody will just wake up and then be on the bed the whole time, imagining herself or himself going to work, doing a few things, and the whole day comes and the person is not out of bed. It continues for days, and then we are calling it a sickness because that is not how it's supposed to be. Let us first understand exactly what the import of visualization comprehension is all about. It is your ability to communicate something that you want to do into productivity. So if the word productivity is not at the receiving end of what you are visualizing, then you should pause whatever that you're doing, halt it with immediate effect, so that you don't land yourself in unnecessary illusions and you don't live in an imaginary world that does not exist.
True.
And we should confine visualization in within purpose and achievement, and then trying to solve a problem. So if you want to solve a need, there is no way you can't live in your mind to solve problem, because everybody is living in his mind, and we don't have a country. We don't have a president, because everybody at the long run is living in his mind. But we have to transfer what is in our mind to something fruitful. So anything outside this, you are not visualizing. You are heading for doom.
So what's the essence of visualization?
Now, looking at what we just understood by visualization, I mean, it is extremely important. You are what you create in your mind. I mean, the Bible says that as you think, so you are. If you can imagine it, if you can see it, not use the word imagine, if you can see it, then you can have it. For instance, if you're in class and you're being taught, if you can't form mental pictures of what you are being taught, the likelihood of you claiming that you understand what is being taught is very zero. For instance, with what we are doing right now, if you are able to translate my words into pictures and be able to relate with it in imageries, the probability of you remembering what we are talking about now and making use of it is very, very high. So it is important, number one, in terms of communication and problem solving. The words that I'm speaking to you are things that are in my head. You can't see through my head.
True.
So how do I transmit something from my head to you? So the words I'm using is like a bridge that is transferring what is in my head to you.
True.
When these words get into your ears, then they also form mental pictures of what is in my head also in your head.
True.
I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So it is important tool for innovation, for creativity, and for solving problems. I keep saying pursuing purpose and then making sure that you have results at the end. In other words, nobody can ever achieve anything if you can see it. If you can't visualize it, you can't have it.
So when back in university, I remember one of the philosophy classes, the lecturer said anything that is in existence was once thought about.
Yes, exactly.
It makes sense.
True.
Is there any historical background on this particular subject?
Definitely. First, I mean, so far, since nobody has come out boldly to claim that I created man and put breath in him, then we know that God is the one who did it. Exactly. So the first point that we have is God himself. I mean, God himself as the master creator, looking at creation, looking at, the trees and things and even human beings. There's definitely should be a brain behind it. I mean, I don't believe in the Big Bang theory says that boom, all of a sudden, because those who, propounded the theory themselves took steps. I mean, they went through a process to propound the theory. But how do you tell me that after the theory you use steps to propound? I should believe that the world just happened without a process. It contradicts even their method in the first place. Yes. True. So the historical background, of course, takes us to the creator himself, which is God. And then throughout history, you have different people doing different things. Noah creating the first comprehensive integrated ship man had ever experience. Men and animals, all kinds of animals together in one boat. A novice who had never done it before. We have the pyramids that were built. Some were built in the time of Joseph. And so many things, and the 7 wonders of the world that we know, and all the other wonders. Yeah. So throughout history has a lot of prints that directs us to people who visualized and brought something very new, very different that we had never seen before.
True. I love the God example.
Exactly.
True. How does visualization affect the mind? Okay,
so like I said, there's a difference between the brain and then the mind. So the brain is the organ that is controlling the physical structure of the human being. Then the mind here comes in as the let me call the spirit realm, or the realm outside the senses. So what happens is that with your brain, for instance, you're looking at a book. So as you're reading the book, the words are physically written, but you see the word apple. Then a mental picture of apple pops up, not in the brain but in the mind. Because if I cut your brain into two, I won't see apple written. I won't see apple in your mind. So that takes you out of the physical function of the brain into the realm of the mind, where all manner of visualization is giving expression. So for instance, let me say that, so the brain is like the brush, and that your mind is the canvas. So the brain paints on the canvas of your mind what you are trying to communicate.
I get you.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
So that is exactly how it works in both ways. So let me just say that, so you can have a vision about something which didn't start in your brain, but then your brain processes it, and then your brain begins to work through your body to fulfill that activity. Like the one who invented the car, he had an idea. It came from the mind. Then the brain now says, how can we do it? So the brain gives instructions to the hands to move, to the legs to move. So it works hand in hand. In the same way, you can look at something, then the brain interprets it, then it gets into your mind. That is why you have to be careful with the thing that you expose your senses to.
Is the whole process a spiritual process?
I think it's physical and spiritual. Physical and spiritual because a human being is a spirit being. As long as you can dream, dreaming can't be measured by scientific instruments. It is beyond apparatus. So that should tell you that then there's a spiritual side to a human being. Just as the Bible already clearly tells us. But in the world view, there are some things that happen to us. We just know that this one can't be quantified with science. So there is the out of the physical part. So it works whether you believe in or not. The system is still working.
True.
Exactly. So whether you believe there is or not, as long as there is the imaginations that come in your head, you didn't create, then it didn't come from the brain.
True.
Then there is a spiritual side to a human being.
True.
Exactly.
What is creative visualization techniques?
Now, so creative visualization now is when you want to see results for the mental pictures you have. So it's not just about having it in your mind. Now you want to see it meet and meet. So we say creative visualization. Yes. So the techniques, when we say techniques, we are just looking at in what steps you can bring this thing from your mind into a physical reality. The first thing is to identify a need. Identify something that must be done. It can be a career, it can be work, it can be a hobby, it can be anything that would like to solve a problem. Then the next thing you have to do is that you have to make sure that you create a mental picture about how that need can be met. So you realize that human beings are walking, traveling so many kilometers, long distances. If your cousin had to visit you in some years or some centuries ago, he had to probably set off about a month before time, walk through. So how then can I make my cousin visit me earlier than the normal route? So whilst you are thinking about it, then ideas begin to pop up, also in pictures, also in diagrams. Then you take those ideas, then you begin to make them on paper. Then you have a process. Then when you have the process, now the third thing is to look at the environment and what can allow that idea fulfilled. The first, when Seiko is a watch company, when they introduced the system of batteries in watches, most of the companies in Switzerland, they didn't believe it because they were running on the balance wheel kind of watch. I mean, you just have to wind before. So when they brought the idea, they were laughing at him. I mean, at the idea. They didn't. When they, took it to, it's a Japanese company, took it to US, took it to other countries, they wholeheartedly jumped on the idea. Out of about 2,000 watch companies in Switzerland, almost over 1,000 of them collapsed because something that, was faster, easier, better with the quartz kind of watch had come. So it means that the problem was not with the idea. The problem was the kind of people that the company was trying to introduce the idea to. So the next thing you should look at in a technique, in bringing a visualization into manifestation, is looking at your target, those that are receiving it. So it may not necessarily be, for instance, if you take Uber to a desert region, it won't work.
It won't work, true.
Unless Uber now wants to use cameras. I don't know how. You can have an app where maybe you can have camera riders and then they'll come and pick you. It doesn't mean that the idea is bad. So it's not enough creating it. It's not enough drawing it, putting it on paper. You must also consider the environment that you're growing in. A lot of dreams in Ghana have been shattered not because the dreams were bad.
The environment.
Because of our country. There are people who have traveled out of the country. Our system told them, you can't do medicine. You had a grade 12. You had a grade 14. They travel, go outside and come back as doctors, sometimes even better than those who got it from here.
True.
Did it mean that their vision was wrong? No.
True.
So that is the next thing you should look at. If your idea is not being given the necessary attention that it needs, don't blame yourself. You should rather review who you are introducing that idea to.
True.
And who you are counting on to bring that mental picture into manifestation. So that is one of the things. And the last thing is that you should expect results. You should expect results. A lot of time we don't see any progress because we actually don't expect results in the first place. Mm-hmm. You want to be a teacher. Why do you want to be a teacher? There are a lot of teachers. You want to be a doctor. Why do you want to be a doctor? You want to be a carpenter. People were doing carpentry before you were born.
Yeah, true.
You visualized it. You've created something in your mind. Let's create a special kind of table that can meet so and so need. It's enough. But what are you looking for with the creation of what you want to do? Mm-hmm. What is the results you're expecting? And after you've done it, is it serving the need or not? That is what will bring your uniqueness. Because almost everybody is doing the same thing. But yours is targeted with a particular problem and solving a particular need. Having done it, is it solving the need or not? And we have that problem in our country.
Okay, let's look at this point too. With the time, okay, you're expecting the results. Some might take years. Like for instance, if I'm a cocoa farmer, it takes years for the cocoa for you to get a cocoa. So if somebody is growing oranges too, and I'm growing cocoa, I don't expect us to have the same so harvest.
So we should understand that we all have different
timing too.
No, not just the timing, but we have different powers or levels of visualization. What you may visualize and want to meet or solve may not necessarily be what I have. That is what I'm saying, that we should confine it in purpose. Confine it in purpose means that now we are defining it not because we just have to imagine something or try to solve something, but how will that thing we are trying to imagine solve a need, and how can that need relate with us? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who are doing things outside their capacity, outside their potency. They may be flourishing in it, but their desire is not in it.
There's no passion in it.
Mm-hmm. So that should come in. So if I know that I'm supposed to do cocoa, I don't care who is doing orange and reaping in few months. Mm-hmm. My target is to grow cocoa. Then, when I make sure I settle on this is what I want to do, I can find other ways to beat time. Mm-hmm. Do you know that we can actually create a system where we can have cocoa all year round?
Yeah,
have you realized that now we have a lot of pear? People are still selling pear. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, if it were about some years ago, it would have been out of season already. Mm-hmm. We can grow pear all year round. Do you know in Japan people are growing tomato on water?
Oh, okay.
So now, when you tend to see what you want to bring into reality and how good it is, you find ways to beat time and any other condition that will not allow you to see the results you're supposed to have.
And another point is that because there are so many creations around us, it can trigger you to create upon the creation you already see.
Exactly, beautiful.
Yeah.
So all of our visualizations and the things we want to do, like I said, it should be centered on need, purpose, and result. It is interdependent. If it's not in your area, don't disturb yourself about it.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Does visualization help with individual performance?
Absolutely. The more you visualize, the more you solve issues, the more you bring out results, the more creative you become. It improves upon you, the human being yourself. And you realize that creativity will not just apply to one particular thing. It will begin to reflect in every other area of your life. When I was in JSS, I loved pre-technical skills so much. Mm-hmm. I could see any, because our teacher taught us to find needs that pre-tech can solve. Okay. So I came home and I realized that we didn't actually at that time have a TV stand. We're using one old one. I was like, oh, why don't I design one? So I took a pen and paper, designed it, drew it. I showed it to my mom. She said, let's go and look for a carpenter to build it. The carpenter built it, and then we had one in our room. Okay. I took a picture and sent to in fact, I invited him home at that time. There were no pictures there. And he came to see it. I was like, wow. I designed it according to our need. CDs were common at that time, compact discs. So I had to create a place for that, create a place for deck, create a place for. I mean, it was beautiful. That creativity I have carried out to my life till now, even with the arrangement of stuff in my own room. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So creativity, what you earn from it at the long run will not just be directed towards one thing. Mm-hmm. It will end up affecting other areas of your life positively.
Great.
Exactly.
How can one use visualization to calm anxiety?
The best antidote to anxiety is number one, knowing who you are, your capacity, and your inability. Many a time we are depressed and anxious because we try to do things outside our strength. There is nothing wrong with doing something outside your strength if you can consult those who can and do it on your behalf. There are some men who can cook, so employ people to cook for them and pay them.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the bachelors, they go to restaurants to eat. Some of them is not because they can cook. Some too is because they cannot cook. I'm paying you for a service. People can't drive. They pay drivers, public transport to do that. So one major cure is that we should know what you are called for, know what you are wired for, know your interest, and then try and then remain it. If it's beyond what you can, then you have to consult and employ. Don't carry the burden alone. You understand?
Yeah.
So now, how do we narrow this down into visualization? As you find a need, and then you find how you can contribute to that need. As long as your contribution is within your power, stay within that limit. If you are stressing and you can't actualize, for instance, you want to become, I'm just making reference because of your friends, is you want to, become maybe a doctor. And then maybe at that point in time, maybe resources are scarce or your results are not that good. I don't think any university in Ghana here will take it. There are people and companies and places that can give you an opportunity to pay your fees, an opportunity to take you somewhere, even outside the country, that can still make that need fulfilled. So you don't remain with the vision and assume that with that, the full fulfillment of it has to be on you. Meanwhile, the other people who are already equipped, consult with them. At the long run, you will still become the doctor without your resources and your effort. Anxiety is solved.
Oh, I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. So, but before we started this whole podcast, from the beginning, we spoke something little about the illusion thing. I want us to delve a bit into it. So does visualization elude us of reality? That's making us escape what needs to be done?
Not necessarily. I won't say that visualization makes us elude reality. It rather brings reality into everything. It is not the opposite. When it's the opposite, then we have a problem. But if you begin to see reality in everything that you do, then that one we can constrain visualization out of just a mental illusion or some fantasy. For instance, before the advent of phones, communicating across borders was just impossible. It will take a longer period of time. You have to send somebody, the person has to go, whether the news reached the person or not. Somebody thought about how can't we use a wave or something in order to create this thing. Now, in the mind of the person, there is insanity, because it has never been seen before. How do you pick a container and give the same container to another person and tell the person that I'm going to talk through this container without wires, and you at the other side of it will hear what right from onset there is an illusion. But bringing it into reality and seeing that you are solving a need takes you out of just mental wondering, because you are solving a problem.
I get the point. Yeah.
So the only way to get out of illusion, a lot of people say I'm visualizing it, but they're just living in illusions, because they are not restricting the whatever that they are envisioning into reality. The reality is that there needs to be solved. There is a project to be done. There is something to do. There is work to be done. How can I transfer what is in my mind into the work I'm doing? As long as there is a target of purpose, I won't live in a mental illusion. It will rather make me rise up and then get to work. There are a lot of people who just, shelve themselves in, imagine a whole world, happy themselves, and then eventually nothing happens in their lives. Then anxiety comes in, then depression comes in, then death, dementia, then schizophrenia. We can take ourselves out of that as long as we see reality in every imagination. So if what you are imagining is not consistent with reality, stop it. As a child of God, I will say that if it's not consistent with the Bible, you have to stop. How do you imagine, for instance, killing everybody, having the whole vicinity to yourself, and then having a big land with nobody else? That is not how we're created to be. Every human being is supposed to depend on somebody. So with this thing that is taking you out of basic human right, should tell you that you are treading dangerous ground. You should quickly come out from it.
And how do you also know that what you're visualizing is not you lying to yourself? For instance, you have visualized doing something, and for continuous years you keep failing at the same thing, and you keep failing, repeating the same mistakes. When do you come to the point that, I might be lying to myself, this is not what I'm supposed to do? I get my point.
Yes.
At what point do you also come that, okay, I've quit, I have to visualize other stuff that I think I can do?
Firstly, we have to distinguish between failure and mistakes. They are not the same thing. The fact that you make a mistake at something means that you have an opportunity to prove upon it. Failure is more or less like drawing a finality on something that is condemned. There's nothing we can do about it, at least for now. We should draw the distinction between the two. There is nothing that was made without errors first of all coming in. The error does not necessarily mean that you are failing. For instance, you are building something. You decide to build a table, and the table should be able to hold about 4 glasses. You had a mental picture, had a diagram in mind, had measurements in mind. Build the table, realize that it couldn't take the 4, but it takes 3. What do? You only increase the side measurement, and then you improve upon it. But when you call what you just did a failure, it blocks your mind from thinking further on how best to improve upon what you started. And the mere fact that you have not yet gotten to the expected result does not mean it does not exist. Number one, like I said, everything should be purpose driven. Some things really is just maybe somebody who did it, you saw it, it was nice for you, so you wanted also to follow the same track. But if it's something that is birthed deep within, you know that God is the one who put this thing in you, and you want to pursue it, no matter the excuses you even give to your own self, you find out that the more you want to abandon it, the more you get ideas about it and want to pursue it.
True.
Then you should know that this thing is not just a mental picture, it's not just an imagination, it is something that you're supposed to do.
True. So let's take some scientific examples and biblical examples of the power of visualization.
The first thing I said, God, He be the creator. I mean, looking at creation alone, we are still discovering new things about ourselves every day. You know, recently it is discovered that for somebody to be treated from appendicitis, we don't have to cut the appendix in the first place. A lot of people's appendix are being cut because immediately you have it, we don't know the function of the appendix in the intestine, so we just cut it. Now we are saying that now it has been discovered that we don't have to do operation to remove cataract. With simple drops, it can dissolve. You understand? So, we are still discovering things about this God creator. And we have not stopped. Even our own human, we don't even know the scientific function of eyebrow apart from aesthetic purposes.
True. And so let me give you another example too. Some years back, I had this idea of why is that when you have 2 phones and one is going on low battery, you can't Bluetooth some of the power to the other one. And recently, somebody has done that.
Amazing. Exactly. So God Himself, number one, like I mentioned, Noah, the ark. I talked about Jacob. Jacob was the first person to do crossbreeding between 2 animals. A sheep, black, white, put them together, and we have spotted animals. First time. Isaac was the first man to dig a well. This well thing that is so common, drilling now, at that time it didn't cross the mind of anybody, that because they always had rains falling upon their crop. But God gave him an idea when it was time for famine and said, no, don't go anywhere, stay here. So how will you do it? Dig a well. So it was the first time a man dug from the ground for water to come out for irrigation purposes for the first time.
Wow.
You see, that is creativity. We talk about, in Galileo Galilei, a man on earth is sitting here and saying that I think there are some worlds beyond this kind of world. That's
strange.
It's strange. It's insane. You have not even finished discovering the kind of earth. You are telling me that, here we are today. We have astronaut expeditions every now and then.
Wow.
We can't measure too many people bringing it in. Even the 2 mad being podcast we are doing right now.
True. I never imagine us doing this thing.
Yes.
True.
And it's making impact. I saw the statistics that you put there with the other end. It's amazing.
And we had a new follower from Florida. She's called Nara, and she loves it. I don't know her, but she loves it.
Exactly. So you began. A purpose was you felt the need that people have different kinds of knowledge about things. Why don't I bring them together, solicit their views, and help people? And that is what you are doing. There is impact.
True.
And there is creative visualization because we are seeing results.
True.
And we keep improving upon it day by day. So now history is not just Abraham and Noah and the pyramids of Egypt. It's now us, you and me.
True.
And we are making it.
Close remarks.
Everybody should visualize, but not just vainly. You should do it in the conference of purpose. When I say conference of purpose, find a need, find a desire, find something that God has called you to do, put in your heart, something that distresses you when you're walking in the street every day. There is that one thing that you can't just stand when people do it. It's probably a desire calling for attention. Visualize a solution to it and put it on paper, put it in diagrams, put it in writing, put it in models, and then find alternative solutions to it. Even if it's not within your power, you have to consult and employ people, get them on board. Don't miss focus. That is how we can make the world a better place day by day.
True. So some years back, I was visualizing of me building the biggest film house in Africa. And I've been feeling at this film whole thing, the whole film thing. So I had to skew the whole visualization to, okay, I want to just make films. Then I've been feeling the film thing. So I skewed the visualization to, okay, I want to do something small for my friends and myself. But today, I want to still build the biggest film house in Africa.
Well, what the disappointments that happened were many other ways you couldn't have done it, or you could have done it better.
True.
Every big thing begins with something small.
True.
It will definitely come to pass.
True. So this is Two Madden Podcasts, a new week, a new topic, and I love this topic, the power of visualization. Subscribe, follow us, and you can listen to all the previous episodes too. Bye.
Following submission, I know you're wishing that you could let your head down and mirror my admission.